Good morning. I know you are probably getting very busy for Pesach. Me too. So I'm going to keep it shorter this morning, but hopefully we can still share a wonderful idea. The Torah says at the beginning of our parasha, Parashat Tzav, Eish tamid tukad al hamizbeach lo tichbeh. A constant or consistent fire will be lit on the altar. You must not extinguish it. You must keep that fire burning. And what I want to ask you is, under what circumstances would you put that fire out? You have this great service of the temple. Every single day you have sacrifices being brought. When would it ever be that we would not have this fire on the altar? And the answer to me is on a rainy day, on a day when you're not feeling good, on a day when perhaps the Kohanim are motivated or inspired, when they're feeling guilty. Fill it in for yourself, but think of all of the things that hold us back. All of the things that stop us from lighting that fire of holiness and spirituality in our life. And what the Torah is telling us, do not extinguish that fire. And that's the way the Maggid of Dubno explains it. He says sometimes he says this holy fire of our service of Hashem, sometimes we so to speak, fall off the horse. Rabbi Jonathan Rosenblatt was here recently. He said, the rabbinate, and it's true to life also, but he said about the rabbinate, he said it's not a ballet, it's a rodeo. You don't have to look pretty, you just have to stay on the horse. And I would take it one step further and say about life in general, that you don't have to look pretty, you have to stay on the horse, but when you fall off the horse, you have to get back on the horse. That's the rodeo of life, and that's this eternal fire that must be lit on the altar. And I'd like to share another idea also from the Maggid of Dubno, is that he says, the sacrificial service as it is, the korbanot, is no longer performed today in the absence of the temple. But one of the things that we have in its place is the prayer service, is davening, tefillah. And just as we find when it came to the actual sacrifices, that it wasn't just what you did that counted, but actually what you thought at the time was incredibly important. If you made a mistake in your thought, if you brought this sacrifice, with one intention in mind and it really should have been something else, that was problematic. You had to have the correct intentions when you brought it. And he says it's the same thing with davening. Now, so far so good. But he gives a wonderful analogy. He says there's an agreement. It's been used many times throughout Jewish history, known as the Yisachar-Zevulun agreement, named after two sons of Yaakov, Yisachar and Zevulun. I'm sure you worked it out. That the agreement was that Zevulun, who loved doing business, would go out and earn money and split whatever his profits were, would split them 50-50, that he would get half the money and Yisachar would get half the money. Yisachar, who had an aptitude and a love for learning Torah, would study Torah the entire day, and in the world to come, or even in this world, 50% of his reward for Torah would go to Yisachar and the other 50% to Zevulun. So rather than both of them being generalists, as most of us have to do in life, to keep a foot in both worlds, which is important but difficult, they were each specialists. Now obviously Yisachar had some involvement with the world, and Zevulun still did study some Torah, but they had their areas of speciality. And it worked. And the Maggid of Dubno says, so imagine there was this construction worker who makes a similar deal with a yeshiva bocher. And the construction worker goes out to work every day and is very physically intensive labor. At the end of the day, he comes back and he shares what he has earned 50-50 with this yeshiva guy learning in yeshiva. Now he says, one day the construction worker turns around and says, you know what, I'd like us to try it the other way around. I would like you to be the one doing the work and getting the money, and I'll be the one sitting and learning. So the yeshiva guy says, fine, it's worth a try. So he goes out, but he's not really trained for it. What can I say? He's small of stature. Not all yeshiva bochum are like that, but there are a few. He's small of stature. He's a little spindly and weak, and he's not able at all to succeed in the construction work. Whereas this construction worker is a person who's not accustomed to using his mind, and certainly not all construction workers are like that, but this guy was not accustomed to using his mind, and he sits and he studies and he's not able to focus and concentrate, and basically it's a disaster. Basically the deal doesn't work. They realize they go back to their old deal. Construction workers more suited for construction, the yeshiva bochers more suited for learning. Now the Maggid of Dubno says that is the same relationship between your body and your soul. Your body, he says, has the job, has the task of preparing everything that your soul needs to survive, of providing all of the needs for your soul. And your soul has the task of connecting to Hashem, of bringing holiness into your life. And he says, and ideally that's how it should be, but sometimes, and this is fantastic, sometimes in davening we get it exactly wrong. He says the body is the one davening, and you're standing there and your eyes are closed and you're rocking back and forth, and physically you're doing everything, your body's davening. He says, but what's your mind doing? Your mind's thinking about your business. Your mind's thinking about work. Your body is trying to take care of your spiritual needs. Your mind's trying to take care of your physical needs. And that, he says, is a disaster. So those are 2 points on Parshat Tzav to think about. The first one is don't let that fire go out. No matter what happens, keep that eternal fire burning. And if the day didn't work out the way you wanted to, do it tomorrow. The second point is to focus in prayer and remember that your body has a very important task and function. To provide you with everything you need to serve Hashem, and then your soul is the task of serving Hashem. One can't do it without the other. They certainly shouldn't get confused about their roles. Have a wonderful Shabbos.